I just want to say thank you to you guys, and it's about you, Kenny.
Okay, thank you. Well, thanks for having me here. You're probably all thinking, what the hell's an escrow guy going to teach me? All right, well, I'll give you a bit of background on me. I got my real estate license in 1982. I was 7 at the time, okay? And I've been selling real estate up until about 10, 20, 15 years ago, all right? The reason I got out of the business was because I got into something else, which was flipping properties. You know, and it's easier to flip properties when you don't have a license than when you do, all right? But the main reason I'm here is to talk about when I started, I was kind of wandering around, didn't know what the hell to do, how to get listings. You know, I'd walk into a house, I kind of look at people and go, do you want to list your house with me? And they'd go, no, and I'd walk off. But I was fortunate enough to run into a guy by the name of Sean Massman, and he was the trainer for Coldwell Banker. He used to go through all the different states training people, and so he started training me, and he taught me so much, and the importance of closing when you go on a listed appointment or when you're with a buyer, you know. So I want to share some of the things that he taught me that may help you, you know. Everybody lists differently, and it doesn't really matter whether you go with a presentation, you know, a presentation book, or whether you go with your iPad and you scroll through, or you just sit down and talk to the people. You know, it all works the same. The importance, the main thing with listing property is when you walk in there, is you've got to remember, you've got to do half the amount of talking that the sellers are going to be doing. Okay? Because the key really is that anything you tell them, they don't believe. So the key is getting your words to come out of their mouth. Because everything they say, they obviously believe. Okay? Which sounds kind of crazy, but it really does work. I used to go with new agents, I used to train new agents, and I'd go on listed appointments. And the big thing that they used to do wrong was they talk too much. They wouldn't ask questions. I mean, the most important thing when you get into an appointment is to ask the person, what is it you are looking for in a real estate agent? Because now, then let them tell you everything. Don't interrupt them, let them tell you everything. Because you may be going in there thinking, oh, I'm going to tell them how fantastic I am at doing open houses. And I'm going to hold their house open, you know, every other weekend or twice a week or whatever it may be. But they may not want open houses. So you've spent all this time and now these people are looking at you going, this isn't the right person for me. So you've kind of lost. So really the key is just ask the questions. What is it you're looking for? What can I do to help you? Tell me. And then just shut up. Don't say nothing. Let them give you all the information that they can. All right? That's really, really important because people will tell you stuff. And when you repeat it back, you know, a little bit later, you say, look, this is the way I work. This is what I could do for you. And you start telling them the things that they are looking for in a real estate agent. Okay? Then they're like, oh my God. Yeah. They forget that they've already told you the information. And when it, you know, I mean, it's hard when you're out there on a listed appointment, you know, because people have so many objections. And what I used to do with people is I'd take a yellow pad in those days. I suppose you could use your phone now. When you come out, if you didn't get the listing contract from them, is to write down on a pad what was the objection that I couldn't overcome. And really, the key is to learn all the objections. I mean, it could be anything. You know, my brother's wife's boyfriend, he's a real estate agent. And he'd be really mad if I listed the property with you. You've got to learn how to overcome every objection you could think of. All right? I want to go with a big company, I want to go with a small company. So it's really just learning all the things that you could say to overcome the objection. And I can give you reasons why you go with a small company, if I work for a small company, and I can also give you reasons why I go with a large company if I'm going to work for a large company. And you know, with a smaller company, it's a boutique operation. It's personalised to you. We're not just one of these huge companies that everybody's just pigeonholed. We do this, we do this, we do this. No, we cater to you because we have a budget that is specified to you. Now, if I work for a large company, I can turn around and say, well, the benefit with me is we're national. You know, my advertising budget is not a problem. You tell me what you want on your advertising. These small companies can't get you into a paper. You know, so you could turn the objection to whatever it is. So really the key is to find out what people want in the first place. You know, the next important thing is you go through, you tell them what you can do for them, and you ask them, do you have any questions? And once they say no, okay, that's the time, and you say, well, all right, let's move forward then. And once you say that, don't say another word. Once you say, let's move forward, that basically means we're going to do the listing together. And if they don't say anything, they're closed. They're ready to go with you. People don't recognize when people are willing to move forward and they start talking about something else. Like, oh, this is great, you know, I'm excited about this because now what I can, you know, and now the person was already closed, now you've got to re-close that person. And that is really the hardest thing to know, is when somebody's closed, because people always think they've got to talk more, and you don't. Now, you say, well, let's fill out the paperwork. And then if they look at you and they go, oh, no, hold on. You say, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Obviously, I haven't answered all your questions. What is it that you are unsure about? And they'll say to you, well, you know, I'm thinking about this, I don't like this, I only want to pay, you know, 5% commission, I don't want to pay 6% commission. And then all you do, the key really at that point is to say, so those are the objections that you have. And when they say yes, you repeat them back, you say, it's this, it's this, it's this. And they go, yeah, that's it, exactly. And then you say, if I can overcome all those objections and you're happy with it, would you let me represent you? Because now, if you don't ask that question, you will overcome the objections, and then people will start adding more objections and more objections. So it's to find out really what the objection is. I mean, this works with buyers as well as with listing properties. You know, you show people properties, and you tell them the key with buyers is real easy. You have to be in control. And if you're not in control, they're really hard to close because they're all over the place. They're with you, they're with somebody else, you know. So when it comes to buyers, when I used to represent a buyer, they'd call me on a listing or something and I'd say, yeah, great, I'll be happy to show it to you. When's a good time for you to come to my office? And they go, well, can I meet you at the property? And I'd say, well, no, I need you to come into the office. If they weren't willing to come into the office, I'm not going to waste my time with them. Okay? You need a commitment from buyers. And this is the way mine would go. They'd walk in and I'd say, great, take them into the conference room and say, now, are you already pre-qualified? And I'll say, oh yes, yeah, you know, a friend of mine. And I'll say, that's great. But let me tell you the way I work. I have a lender that pre-qualifies and qualifies all of my borrowers. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set you up with an appointment with this person so that they can prepare you and get all the documentation ready for when you decide which home you are going to buy from me. You always talk on the positive side, okay? And then I say to them, okay, what we're going to do, once they've sat down with Carlos, and he's pre-qualified them and we know everything, what we're going to do then is I'm going to take you out and I'm going to show you 5 properties. You've got to tell me what you're looking for, what area you want, and I'm going to take you and show you all these properties. Now, I want you to be really upfront and honest with me. I want you to tell me what you like, what you don't like. Okay? And what's going to happen then is I'm not going to drag you around like all these other realtors. I'll know what you're looking for. I'm going to go and preview these properties. And when I see a property I think that you are going to like, I'm going to call you. All right? And when I call you, I need you to come out and look at the property. See, the way I work is I can only represent 3 buyers at a time because I do so much work for my buyers. Now, I need a commitment from you though, because this is the way I work. If you don't like the way I work, you have to tell me, because I don't make a dime until somebody buys a house from me. So I need a commitment that I am going to put in my time and you are going to be 100% loyal to me. If you see another property somewhere, I don't want you calling the sign, I want you calling me. I can give you all that information. So the key really is to get people locked in and committed. And I mean, that wasn't true. I didn't work 3 buyers, I'd work as many as I possibly could. But the facts of what I'm saying is I don't want, how many of you have spent a month driving a buyer around, you show them everything there is, and then all of a sudden you call them, they've kind of ghosted on you, right? They're nowhere to be found. Then you find out, after you've been calling and calling, and then you do the old, I'll call from a different phone number, because they won't recognise it, and they answer. And you go, hey, I go, what's going on? And they say, I'm really sorry, but we were out Sunday and we saw this house, and we went in and we were, the realtor was really nice, and we ended up putting an offer in. How many of you have heard that story with buyers? Yeah. So really the key with a buyer is to get a commitment from the buyer. And you tell them how you work. Not how they want to work, but how you work. All right? The other important thing as well is when you set an appointment with a buyer, you speak to a buyer and they say, oh yeah, I'll be there. And you say, well, all right, do you want to meet me at the property at 2 o'clock? And they go, yeah. And they're never there at 2, are they? They're normally there at 2:15, 2:20, and they'll start calling you saying, oh, I'm really sorry, I got held up, I'm in traffic or whatever, okay? The reason for that is because they don't believe your time is valuable. So you've got to create the impression that your time is really valuable. So the way to do that is, if I want to show you a property and you say, what time can I meet you there? I'll say, just a moment. Okay, I can meet you there at 2:12. Does that work for you? And it sounds weird that you're giving them like 12 minutes past 2. Okay, but you see what you're doing is you're setting in their mind how busy you are, and you're scheduling how important it is. And then you say, well, all right, I'm going to squeeze it in. I am really busy though, so please don't be late. I need you there at 2:12. And people will show up on time. It's the same when you set an appointment for somebody to come into the office to meet with you. Don't give them on the hour, on the quarter, on the half, because people automatically think, oh, I'm going to meet around 2:15. Okay, make yourself really important. That's the key to it. You are your best thing that you have going for you. Okay, So you don't want to be running around, because then buyers and sellers will mess you around. You know, I used to go on lots and lots of listed appointments, and my theory on a listed appointment was, if I don't close them now, I'm not coming back. I am not going back. They're not going to play me the fool where they got me and 6 other realtors running through hoops. And I'd look at them and I'd say, you know, the thing is, if we don't do the paperwork tonight, I don't know whether I'm going to have time to come back. And it sounds really hard, because it's like, that might be the only listing that you've got. But you've got to create a sense of urgency. Once you walk out that door, all right, more people are going to follow to try to list that property. They're probably not going to say anything different than you said, but the point is now the seller is going to be sitting there going, oh, I can't, oh, let's just give it to them. Let's just let them have it. Because they've run out of people to call. So really, you've got one shot at closing. You know, it's like if you go to a car showroom and somebody you know, you're interested in buying a car, and you say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to call you back tomorrow. All right? And then the person, you call that person tomorrow and they're not working. So they deal with somebody else. You know, this is the thing, you've got, if you are good and if you are confident in yourself, you can list and close anybody. Okay? Always ask closing questions. I'm sure you'd agree, wouldn't you? There's a closing question. The other little secret things that you could do when you want somebody to say yes is you start nodding your head yes. Because you know how hard it is when you're talking to somebody and they're going like this, for you not to start doing that and then try and say no, it doesn't work. So just nodding your head at people, you know, is a great way to get people to say yes. You know, and objections, you know, objections can be anything, you know. If they, let's say that you've got somebody and their house is worth 400,000, but they want you to list it at 450,000, okay. The worst thing to do is to argue with somebody and tell them the house isn't worth 450,000. Okay? They don't want to hear that. So you've got to find a way of overcoming that objection and bringing them down to 400,000. And the way is really simple. You don't talk about price. You talk about time. Okay? I was trying to close you on that. I want it for 400,000. You want me to put it on the market for 450. I'm not going to give them any reasons. Like, well, you know, that means that your property's going to sit on the market, and tell them stuff they don't want to hear. Because sellers don't want to hear that. They think that they've got the best house that's ever been on that street. You know, I sold one the one day and the people were trying to push the property up on me because they got orange carpet. And they loved this orange carpet. You know, I was about to tell the people who hate this orange carpet. I mean, who wants orange carpet? But they loved it. So I didn't talk about carpet, I talked about time. And when I say about time, what I do is I say, well, first of all, let me ask you, how long do you feel would be a good time to put your house on the market and to get an offer? And people will give you a time. Well, you know, if it's too soon, obviously you sold it at too low a price, you know? And then you say to people, well, do you want your house on the market for like 8 months? And they go, well, no, you know, we want to sell. Find out the motivation, why, you know, I should have said that at first. Find out what their motivation is for selling, okay? But then you say, you know, I have no problem putting your property on the market for 450,000. The only thing I want you to understand is it's probably, you know, normally I take a 6-month listing, but in this case, I'm probably going to have to take 18 months listing because I'm going to have to wait for the property to get to that price. And people go, well, I don't want 18 months. And then you say, well, the low in this area is 380,000. You know, if I put the property on for 380,000, I could probably sell it within the first week. And they go, well, no, I don't want that. And you say, well, would you accept an offer around 425,000? Well, you know, that's $25,000 lower. Yeah, but if that's a good price, we can probably accomplish that within about 6 weeks. See, I'm not talking price anymore, I'm talking the time to market the property. Because I'm not going to tell somebody your house isn't worth 450, because straight away they're not going to like me. You've got to get them to feel that you're their best friend, and you're giving them information. At the end of the day, it's up to you what you want to do. You know? So try and talk about time instead of talking about price. You know, the best way to do it is to role play with one another, to be honest. You know, role playing is such an important thing to do, because you learn it in the office instead of learning outside.
Just in case you don't know, Monday to Wednesday we do role play here at 9 a.m. Just in case.
Perfect. That really is so important.
I have an emergency file,
oh.
and I'm so sorry.
Anyway, this is Tracy.
Hi, guys.
Tracy.
Yeah,
I hope it's not mine.
Sorry, it's not yours.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Enjoy.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Give me- if I can-
But like I say, the key really is to be confident in yourself. You know, if you go around thinking, oh my God, I really need to get this deal, and you're putting yourself all over the place trying to get the deal, the odds are you're not going to get it. Whereas if you come in strong, people want to work, first of all, with successful people. They don't want to work with somebody that isn't successful. So you tell them how successful you are. That's why, you know, I'm going to meet you at 3:09, because that's what my schedule allows. And it may sound really weird, but it really does work. And when you're talking to somebody on the phone and they say, well, you know, can I come by your office today at 4 o'clock? Don't just say yes, say, let me just check my calendar. And then if they want to come by at 4, say, you know what, the earliest appointment that I have today is 10 minutes past 4. Would that work for you? Or always try and set a time after they said, because you know they can make it there by 4. So now the key is to make it important, make yourself important by saying, yeah, 10 past 4. And when they get here, turn around and say, okay, I'm going to answer all your questions or whatever it is they're here for. But don't turn them into your best friend. Don't sit there for an hour and a half talking, because your time's valuable. You know what I mean? It could be that you got nothing else to do. Time's still valuable. Go home and relax. Or think about what you could do for marketing. Think about some of the questions that people have asked you, objections that you can't overcome. You know, the big one is commission. You know, well, I don't want to pay 6% commission. That's not a problem. We can do 7. And people go, well, no, no, I was thinking about doing 5. And you say, well, 6 would probably work better, because what I could do then is I could offer a bonus to another agent that brings an offer for us. But I guarantee if I sell it myself, which hopefully I will, I'm only going to charge 5% commission. How's that sound? Get people to acknowledge what you've said. Ask them questions. Why do you feel it would be in your best interest to sell, you know, to only pay a 5% commission? They're going to tell you the truth. They're going to say, well, it gives me more money in my pocket. If I could show you, though, by paying 7% commission, how you can end up with more money in your pocket, would you do that? The way you do it is you put it into a multiple offer situation, and you offer you get them for 7% commission, which it's not that hard to do. The only hard part about it is what's up here in your head that's telling you people won't do this. People will do what you want them to do if they think it's their idea. So would you, if we could get 7% commission, all right, I would offer the selling agent 4%. If somebody brings a buyer, I could do it for 4%. Now agents only work on deals that they close. Nobody gets a salary anymore, okay? So I know when I'm representing a buyer, which I'm not supposed to do, I know, but I'll go through the MLS and see who is showing the highest commission that I can earn. And those are the ones I'm going to try and sell first. Don't you want people to do that for you? Great. See, once you nod your head and say yes, I'm assuming now that you've taken it at 7%. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to get down to the paperwork and they're going to say, well, you know, I don't want to pay 7, let's do 6. And you say, okay. You see, don't argue with people, don't tell them why they're wrong. Never works when you tell somebody. Nobody wants to hear you're wrong. Because straight away people, they're like, oh, there's no way I'm working with this person. No way. Okay, make everybody your friend, but don't be too friendly with them, because if you become too friendly with a buyer or a seller, they're going to keep calling you and want more and more and more and more. So you keep them at like arm's length, but you build a great rapport with people. It's just rapport, that's all it is. If people like you, people will do business with you. If people don't like you, there's no way in hell people will work with you. Anyway, any questions on anything that I've said?
Yeah, so do you think it's a good practice? Like, if I already have appointment, or even if I don't have appointment, like you were saying, like, hey, let's get together at 2 p.m. They said, no, I cannot make it at 2, let's make it at 1. I said, no, at 1 already have an appointment. It has to be at 2, or maybe we can do later.
Well, in that situation, if, you know, if I've already got an appointment at 2 and they're saying they want to come in at 2, you just tell them, I'm sorry, but I already have an appointment which has been scheduled for the last 3 days at 2 o'clock. What other time is available to you? And I'll check my calendar and see if I can squeeze you in somewhere. Don't give them another time, let them tell you. Because you will find out a lot of information rather than just try to assume that, oh, well, they said 2, so maybe they could come at 3 or 4. Maybe they said 2 because they, you know, their work schedule is that they have to be at work at 3 o'clock. So find out why, by asking the question, well, I can't do 2, but what other time is available for you? And then when they go, well, I can do it at 1:30, then you say, let me check my calendar. Okay? It does 2 things. It makes you important, it makes you sound busy. All right? And it stops them in the future just thinking that they can call you at the last minute because they want to come and meet with you. To talk about nothing, really. So make yourself important. That's you look so successful when you're important.
Right.
And the busier you are, the more important you are, and the more clients you've got. But you put down what you want. Tell people how you work. You know, if it's like when I said you go on a listing appointment, and somebody says, well, you know what, I don't want open houses. You know, I work really hard during the week, and the only time I have to come home is weekends, and I don't want people marching through my house. I can't relax. You know, I like to do this and I like to do that. You know, find out that information first, and then a bit later what you do when you're doing your presentation or you're talking to these people is you say, you know, let me tell you one thing that I don't do. I don't do open houses. And the reason I don't is it doesn't really do anything for you, Mrs. Seller. All it does is it allows me to pick up buyers. And I don't want to waste your time by you creating more business for me. My job is to sell your property. And I'm going to do everything that I can. But as I say, the open houses really, statistically, people don't walk into an open house and just buy it. I mean, we know they do. But you see how I'm turning it back? Because they said they don't want the open house. people forget what they've told you. You probably think when you go on a listed appointment that you're nervous, all right? You're nowhere near as nervous as the people that are there are, because their main thing is they're afraid that they're going to end up signing and allowing you to represent them. See, would you allow, that's a great close, would you allow me to represent you? Yeah. Okay, now that person's closed. Once I say yes, that's it. Recognize when people are ready and you've already closed them.
So
Okay.
silence is important. You were saying something else. Buyer, when you have buyers, meet them in the office. They're not coming to the office. Don't go to the house,
No.
to the buyers.
No, have them come here.
And what about the sellers? In the house for the
Oh, with
listing
the
appointment?
sellers in the house because you want to close them and you want to do all your
Right
your
there.
paperwork, you want to take your pictures, you want to do all this stuff right there and then. And you know, if you do get a listing that's you want to do photographs and everything, I don't push other companies. Don't get me wrong, but when I see something that I feel is going to be good for real estate agents, then I like to tell people about it. And I was at a meeting today, a network meeting, and there was a company called what was it? Homati, okay? And it's a photography company, all right? And I got talking to them, and for I might be wrong, $229, I think it is. They'll come in, they'll do a 3D inside, they'll do the hover thing over, they'll set everything up for you. So I'll leave, I'm not promoting them, don't get me wrong, but it's just a really great package that they have for the price. I mean, just to get a photographer out there and to do the virtual, they do the virtual tour, the 3D, I mean, you name it, they do it. And it's all in this package. So I'll leave the card and you check them out. But you know, I'm not,
Just in case you don't know, you don't remember, the professional photo for you, Melanie took it for you, you don't have to pay anything. Melanie is our professional photographer, yes.
Oh,
And we're
okay.
gonna get the drone, we're gonna make the video for you to,
Oh,
on your
perfect.
listings. You don't have to pay for that.
Perfect. But, any questions?
Yes, I like to write, and I like to ask questions. So about time, like for example, today we're here in the Antelope Valley, the days on the market is 78 days, right now. So do you think it's a good practice, like when we're gonna be talking about pricing in the listing presentation, and we got the CRM, or the CMA, I'm sorry, or the RPR, whatever we use, are you guys using which one, CMA or RPR?
RPO.
RPR is the best, huh? So RPR, I don't know if you're familiar, they have the lowest price range, the highest price range, and the middle price range.
Yeah.
So if we wanna like go with the time and say, how soon do you wanna sell your house in the listing presentation? Say, I wanna move out in 30 days, okay?
Yeah.
You say, well, 30 days, then here,
Well, you
according to the market and the price, 78 days is the day of the market for the regular market price. If
Yeah.
you wanna sell it before that, or sooner than that, then we need to go in the low price range, correct? Is that something that we should be doing?
Yeah, we need, yeah, you don't, try not to talk about price. When you're talking to people, try not to use the word price, okay? You've got to basically use the days, the marketing days, okay, will then lead you to the price. So, and don't say the lowest, never say the lowest price in the area, because then they're looking at you thinking, well, they think I should go with the lowest price, you know? So try not to use the price if you can avoid it. And that really becomes in a stage of role playing. I used to draw myself a little like triangle, and at the top was the very highest price that had sold in that area. And as the triangle comes down, this part along the bottom was the lowest price that had sold. And then what I'd do is I'd put the marketing days down this side, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20, you know, all the way down. And then when somebody would say to me, well, I need to move out in, you know, I need to close escrow in 45 or 2 months. Then I go, well, all right. So we're, on average, we're looking at the fastest escrow that normally happens is around a 30-day escrow. The average escrow is about a 45-day period. So what we need to do is we need to look on this side to see how long it's going to take, because at the top of this triangle there's very few buyers at this price. As it comes down, you know, to the bottom, as you can see, there's a lot more buyers. So we've got to look at the price and the time frame that is going to sell your property to fit what you need. And so I'm going to go down this side and I'm going to say, well, okay, we really need to get an offer within the next 30 days. And according to the chart, we need to put your house on the market for this price. So you're already talking about time again, instead of talking about price. People will argue with you about price. Well, you know, there's no way I'm selling for $425. My property's worth a lot more than that. The guy down the street, his house is smaller, you know, but he sold his for $395,000, and my house is 3 times better than his. You see, you can't overcome that objection. You can't look at someone and say, well, no, it really isn't. You know, theirs was a better house, it was in a better location. You were right on a main street, he was at the end of a cul-de-sac. You know, you can't tell people that. So, don't ever tell anyone they're wrong in what they say. Yeah, I agree with you. Your house is far superior to that one. And people, you'll see people light up. And the more you can get people to go, oh, yeah, I like this person, okay, the more chance you've got of closing that person. So that's where the role play is so important. And I mean, if you do a role play, you want me to come in and do a bit of role play with you on what I'm just talking about, I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, we can do that
You know?
next week.
You know, the only way I'm successful, to be honest, is to make you successful. Okay? And if I can make you successful, then I have lots of things that I can tell you that will make you more successful. But in return, I ask that you make me successful and give me business. Is that okay with everyone?
Good.
See that?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
nodding their head and everybody's sitting around going, okay. Okay. You know, and I'm not trying to say that whatever you're doing now is wrong, as we could see by 10 listings over there. Congratulations. You know, that's incredible. That is incredible. You know, but everybody can get 10 listings. I used to go on 1 listed appointment a day, sometimes 2. And it's like, well, where the hell do you get all these listed appointments? And I used to go after the hardest market, and they were for sale by owners.
Dígame,
For sale by owners don't want you in the house.
todavía no lo
The hardest thing to do is to
Ya lo
get
pidió,
an
pero no le ha
appointment
llegado todavía.
with somebody.
Pero, espérate,
Has
porque
has
me
anybody
espera
ever
que
called
me
a for sale by owner?
pasando de aquí por este mundo
So
y
by
ya.
owner?
No. Great market. And the great thing about for sale by owners, okay, is realtors don't want to deal with them. Because when you call them for sale by owner, they go, well, you're a realtor. Don't you understand? I'm for sale by owner. I don't want a realtor. Why are you calling me? And they get really nasty with you. Okay? So, if you see a for sale by owner and you want to go, don't just turn up at the door and knock on the door. Call them. And it's really easy to get the confidence, to get the appointment, if you know the right things to say. So you call them up and you go, hi, my name's Kevin. I work for X company. Let me tell you, first of all, I am a realtor. And I know that you're not working with realtors. But I have one question. Can I ask you? And they'll go, okay. Because now you got their interest. Okay, you told them up front you're a realtor. You recognise they don't work with realtors. And they don't want realtors around them, basically. And then it's real easy. You say, if I have a buyer that is willing to pay a price acceptable to you, and the buyer will pay me for representing them, would that be okay with you? I mean, you see it, there's nothing they can object to. They're getting a price that's acceptable. I'm telling them they don't have to pay my commission because my buyer will pay my commission. See, all I'm doing is creating the opportunity to go in. I don't have a buyer for their property, but I'm creating a time that I can sit down with them. And they go, well, yeah, great. When's a good time for me to come and preview your property? Now, this is one that if they say, well, 6 o'clock tonight, I don't try and change the appointment. I go, okay, I'll be there at 6. Click, hang on. Your telephone is only to get the appointment, it's not to close people, all right? Then when I show up, they'll say, well, why, somebody could say, well, why do you need to preview the property? It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Say, well, I can't sell somebody on your house unless I know what it looks like, because they're going to have lots of questions. And I'm a professional person. And when I get my buyers out there, they know I'm not wasting their time as well. So I need to know. So when is a good time for me to stop by a preview? And they'll go, oh. And then you ask the big question. If it's a husband and wife, will both of you be there? No, I'm not going to be there, but my wife will show you around. Say, oh no. I need a time when both of you will be there. Why? Why do you need a time? Because I want to make sure that if I bring a buyer to you, that you're both on board with that. And you just leave it, and I go, okay, well, how about? Because you want both there. I mean, technically, you only need one to sign the listed agreement. If it's a husband and wife, one can sign, and that's it, it's a commitment. On the buyer side, you've got to have 2 people sign, if it's a husband and wife. But you want both people there, because if you close the husband on it, okay, the wife's going to come home and go, oh, what do you mean? No, I don't agree with this. And the next thing you get a phone call saying, oh, I'm sorry, my wife told me that, I can't list the property with you. See, I'm not looking to take a buyer in there. I'm looking to take a listing. I'm looking at, and the first thing I'd say, what made you decide to sell the property for sale by owner? And it's surprising the answers that you get. We all think it's for commission. It may not be. It could be that they had such a bad experience with a real estate company, they don't trust anybody anymore. See, ask the questions. Why did you decide to do, And they'll tell you. And then for sale by owners is so easy to close, to be honest. They're so easy. And one of the big closes you can use on for sale by owner is, well, let me just explain one thing to you. That is that any buyer that's a qualified buyer is going to be represented by a real estate agent, whether it be me or somebody else. It doesn't matter. The only people that are going to be coming to your house and knocking on your door to buy your house is the people that don't qualify, the people who have been watching these TV shows, how to buy property with nothing down. And they're all going to want you to carry notes, and they'll want all of this. Do you really want an unqualified buyer? See, the thing is, if they are really a buyer, they're going to be represented. Whether it be by me or whether it be by an attorney. And let me ask you the next question is, once somebody comes and says, yeah, I want to buy your house, and you sit down and you go, okay, great, this is the price. I said, what are you going to do then? Well, I'm going to call the escrow. And I'll say, yeah, but you have to give escrow all the information. Escrow is just a third neutral party. They're not allowed to advise you on what you should do and what you shouldn't do. They're a neutral party. That's why they are escrow. They don't represent the buyer and they don't represent the seller. So you're probably going to have to hire an attorney. And trust me, that attorney is going to cost you more money than whatever it's going to cost, whether you choose to put your property on the market with you, with me, or with somebody else. And now you see you're planting doubt in their mind, you're giving them all these things, but you're being helpful about it. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to be helpful to people. But don't be afraid of sale by owners. I used to love them. Absolutely love them. That's all my market was. And I normally was like number one in the office for listings. I didn't care about all these people that had all these referrals coming, because I knew, even with referral business, I knew they weren't getting one appointment a day like I was. Sometimes I'd have two. The most I ever had was 3 in one day, and I got 2 out of the 3. You know, it's all up here. Everything is really up here. It's in your own mind.
It's a mental game.
Yeah, you know, a guy came to me the one day in the office, and this really is a true story. I'm not making this up to make it sound good or whatever. He came to me, he said to me one day, he said, you know, Kevin, he says, you work really, really hard. He says, you're here at, 8 o'clock in the morning. You're on appointments. You're back at the office at 8 o'clock at night, but I don't see your name on the board that much. And he said to me, do you want to know the secret? And I went, yeah, because I knew that I was doing everything I could, and I knew there was one phrase that I was missing that was going to close people. And he said, well, there's 2 things you've got to do. I'll tell you the secret to it. He said, but first of all, you've got to promise that you'll do it. And secondly, you've got to promise you won't tell anybody else in the office what the secret is. And I mean, he'd sold me at that point. I'm like, oh yeah, my tongue's hanging down, I'm panting, it's like, oh, come on, tell me. And he says, all right, he says, on those terms, he says, I'll tell you. He says, how many appointments do you have today? And I said, I have 2. He said, if you don't come back tomorrow with at least 1 listing agreement, I know you didn't do what I told you. And I said, I promise, I swear I will. And he said, okay, this is what you do. You get in your car, and while you're driving over to that appointment, you start yelling at yourself, saying, I am going to take this listing, I am not leaving without it. And you get mad at yourself. He said, because your problem, Kevin, he says, is we've all got this subconscious, and there's that little voice in the back of your head saying to, well, don't push too hard. If they say come back tomorrow, go back tomorrow. He said, you always leave excuses for them to get out, and in your subconscious you believe it's true. He said, you go in there mad with yourself. Anyway, I did, and I went back the next day, and he said, did you get a listing last night? I said, no. He said, you didn't do it. I said, I got 2. And really it's all up here. If you go in believing that you're not going to get it tonight, but it's okay, you will get it. You may have to go back 2 or 3 times. It's never going to be your listing. You've got to convince that little mind in the back of your head, I am going to get this. I'm going to walk out tonight and I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that contract signed. I know. It's what you believe. I mean, you've how many times in different situations you use this mentality of believing that this is, you make it happen in your own head, and it will happen. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like I've been trying to come here for months to do this presentation, and Carlos kept saying no, but I knew in my head I was going to get here one day.
And every time you came, you were like,
Yeah.
you want a little presentation?
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I appreciate you guys having me here. All right, and I'd love to come back and do a bit of role playing. There's lots of different things I can talk on. And I'm one of these people that don't shut up, unfortunately. So.
Well, just in case you don't know, I know Kevin for a long time. He's a good friend. He's from Pacific Trust Escrow. You need any help with your escrow, he's the guy.